Greetings to you, our dear viewers, and welcome to The Sacred Calling. This is a program that helps us have a glimpse into the life of priests and sisters in the Catholic Church by listening to their personal stories. We know every person has a story, and so the aim of this program is to understand the role of the sacred cord in the Church and their mission to serve others. My name is Mercy. I am your presenter, and with me, my guest in the studio today is Father Charles Phiri. Father, welcome to my Sacred Calling.
Thank you very much, Madam Mercy, and thank you to all the viewers.
Good to have you here. So, Father, kindly tell us, who is Father Charles? Give us a brief background of who Father Charles is.
Thank you so much, Presenter. I'm Father Charles Joshua Phiri. I come from the Atanasio Parish in Mchini, but originally I'm from Phiri District, Masimbe Village, Chief Mbamoyo. I did my primary education right in the Phiri area at the Zozwe Basic School, where I went from grade 1 up to grade 9. And then thereafter, I qualified to go to Chadiza boarding, but due to some constraints, I couldn't go to Chadiza boarding. I went to Phiri Day Secondary School. Later on, I transferred from Phiri Day Secondary School in grade 11 when I went to Chipata Day Secondary School. And finally, I had to complete my education at St. Mary's Junior Seminary. And in all this process, I had a feeling and kind of had the motivation that God was doing quite a lot of things in my life. And that had something that I needed to say thank you to God in a way.
Okay, interesting. Father, when you were done with high school or when you were growing up, have you always wanted to be a priest?
Yes, of course. I remember the time I was at primary school, because I used to love to go for Mass, and I used to love listening to the preaching of the priests and other people, and I had that kind of admiration. I could admire, and I remember I had to start putting certain things in practice. Like when I was in grade 3, one time we were asked as to what you want to do in life. The thing that I was mentioning, telling the teachers was, I want to become a priest.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes they could tell me, but priesthood is not a career. I want you to say the career. I couldn't come up to say any other career apart from saying the issue of priesthood.
Okay.
So it started from as far as that level in grade 3, and it kept like pushing in that way.
Okay, so I guess with you, it was not very difficult for you to descend to this call.
No, it wasn't very difficult. Though it was quite challenging, but it was not very difficult because I felt that it was already built. The seed was already there in my heart. I felt that way.
Okay. Well, has your family always been in support, or maybe there were some people who were not for the idea that you should go for priesthood?
I can say part of my family was in support of it, but part of my family was not. Looking at the situation the way it was, coming from a very poor family, and then in the family, I was one of the two that had to complete education up to grade 12. So I was also considered to be a breadwinner. And now to go for the training of priesthood and so forth, it came just like it's an kind of an imagination, something that cannot be put into practice. It was not easy, but I had to take my personal conviction, personal courage to forge ahead with that.
Okay, interesting. And then how did you convince those few family members who were not in support?
Okay, I made kind of a plan. At first, I more like succumbed to the push that was there. So what happened, at first I wanted to do accounting, and I'd even applied to Zikas. I was accepted to go there, and then I made an attempt to to apply for sponsorship, and the things failed in the long run. And what made things fail was kind of, up to now, I don't understand. But I just felt it, say maybe God has allowed it to go this way. Thereafter, I got back to Chipata, and then I also attempted the interviews, and then I was, of course, picked to start studying as PC. And then also needed to get sponsorship. I applied to the government so that I get social fair support. And in the long run, it failed again as it was being pushed in that kind of direction. And then I went back to the family. I said, you see, things are failing. And then you can't do anything over this, but I still feel that God is calling me. So now I'm taking my own direction so that I fulfill what is in my heart. And the time I started pushing the aspect of the priesthood, it received all the support that it had to take. I remember approaching by then Father Gabriel Msip, who is the bishop now.
Yes.
He advised me to go and meet Bishop Lungu. By then he was apostolic administrator.
Okay.
And there I was assisted. I was given the guidance on what to do and so forth. And from there, it gained the momentum. And I proceeded, and after meeting the same Bishop Msip and Bishop George, and things kept going. And later on, I had to go to major seminary.
Okay, interesting. So, Father, when did you, as you are telling us when exactly you started your formation, I would also like you to share with us brief experience, like your formation, like how was like seminary life for you? Yes, as you tell us when you joined and when exactly you became a priest.
Okay, thank you very much for a good question. It was in 2004, July, when I received the acceptance letter from my Mass Spirituality Center.
Okay.
And then in August, the same year, 2004, that's the time when I came to a Mass Spirituality Center in Baulen area.
Okay.
And there, that's where the formation began, which is the spiritual formation, and of course, general human development. And when I got to a Mass Spirituality Center, I was helped to come to understand myself in a deeper way, and where I had kind of problems in understanding certain things in life, I was enlightened, because the courses that we are doing there was more to deepen our self-knowledge in order to develop more of self-esteem, but at the same time to deepen spiritual life within. And it went well. Of course, challenges were there, where at first we were used to be moving up and down the village, the compound, but there we were made to be in an enclosed area. So sometimes you'd feel like you want to behave the way you are behaving at the village, to go out and then go and play, yeah. Then you start getting limited. And I felt it to say, what I was dreaming about as it started. Okay. And then I needed to take that prudence of just accepting to the new environment. It went well, and the formators there treated us well. We were learning well, we were eating well, everything was just a balanced way of life. Graduated from there, I was recommended, because of course the evaluations.
Okay.
Yes, every semester you have evaluations where you can be told you're not fit to be here, or you're fit to be here, or you qualified to go to Mpima or not. So I qualified to go to Mpima in the following year, 2006. I mean, from 2004, 2005. Then 2005, I graduated to go to Mpima Major Seminary. I was there for 2 years. And again, the same scenario went on. They were studying philosophy and religious studies.
Okay.
It progressed very well. At the end of it, I was also recommended there to come to St. Dominic's Major Seminary, where I studied for 4 years, but of course in between, there was what we call pastoral year, where I was required to go to the parish where I was assigned in order to put into practice the things that I've been learning. Then, there are challenges here and there. I also qualified to get back to St. Dominic's, because if you fail in the practical sector, then in pastoral year, then you might not get back to St. Dominic's. So generally, in terms of formation, all went well. Even if challenges were there, but God has always been there for me.
We are thankful. Father, when were you ordained? So as you share with us when you were ordained, kindly tell us where exactly you've worked, like where was your first appointment and the places, the parishes you've worked at, and where are you like working as at now?
Yeah. Since in the Catholic Church, the Holy Orders are in categories. So I was ordained as a deacon in 2011. Okay. It's the auxiliary bishop of Chipata Diocese then, the one who is the Archbishop of Chipata Diocese now, Bishop Benjamin, the one who ordained me. And then in 2012, I was ordained by the local ordinary of Chipata Diocese, Bishop George Cosmas Mairelungu. And after ordination, I was sent to St. Peter and Paul Chasa Catholic Parish in Chipata Diocese. It is found in Sinda District. Okay. And I was made assistant there. The first priest then was Father Bonaventure Kamlewe. Okay. And thereafter, after we were serving for about 1 year, 6 months, I was made acting parish priest of the same Chasa Parish. And later on, I was in the same year when I was appointed that, I was made full-time parish priest of the same Chasa Parish. And I served as a parish priest up to September 2015. There I was transferred to go to Chadiza Parish, which is Sacred Heart. And there I was made assistant. That time it was Father Gabriel Kwaku Mwanza, was the parish priest of Chadiza Parish. Yeah. After working for 8 months in Chadiza Parish, I was appointed to become the parish priest of St. Matthias Mulumba Parish, which is found in Chipata along Airport Road. Okay. I worked in that parish for about 6 years and 2 months. Then I was transferred to go to St. Thomas Tantwe Parish, which is found in the Chiefin Zamane area, but covering the chiefdom of Zamane and the chiefdom of Mazmawe within the Chipata Diocese. I worked in St. Thomas Parish for 2 years and 3 months. Okay. And last year, in October, I was transferred from St. Thomas Tantwe Parish to Chukungu Parish, where currently I'm working as an assistant, where the parish priest is Father Simon Banda. In addition to that, I was assigned with the responsibility of teaching at the Catechetical Training Center, okay, where the catechists that are resident there, learning to improve their pastoral activity and catechesis and so forth. I'm teaching them English, sacraments, and church history. In a nutshell, that's why it is currently.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, Father, we hear that religious, like priesthood life has a lot of challenges. What sorts of challenges and trials have been the hardest for you?
Okay, thank you very much. You know, every life has challenges, and like many people say, in every life activity, there's always a risk, but we need to overcome the risks that are there. So a challenge can be under the aspects of the risk, and so a person gets prepared. When you go into a system, you already know exactly what is it that is a critical situation, what is it that can be a deterrent to that, and then you already start preparing on how to overcome those challenges that are there. So on the part of the challenges started way back when I was still at primary school. The first thing is I had once stopped school because there was no sponsorship when I was in grade 2.
Okay.
I had stopped school there. I became a cowboy. I worked as a cowboy for about 1 year and 2 months. Thereafter, I got back to school because somebody, my brother, came on board to start helping me. I proceeded with that. When I was in grade 7, things again failed because my brother had no employment anymore. And then I never wanted to stop school at that level. I started doing some pieceworks. So grade 7, when I qualified, got grade 8. It was through the pieceworks that I had to buy the pair of shoes, uniform, and the other stuff. Then for grade 9, again, it was very difficult. The time when M2, before we did the mock exams, we were sent away from school because we had not paid the school fees. So I had to start doing some piecework, cutting grass to make the fence for the head teacher, and then I was helped to pay the school fees. And through that, God gave the grace, because the same head teacher is the one who pushed for me to be on the ticket of social welfare. Okay. And then the social welfare sponsored me from grade 10 to grade 12.
Okay.
That's kind of the challenge and how God intervened in that. In priesthood, the first challenge is just to be a human person, to encounter a reality that is more like strange. It's the first challenge there.
Okay.
Priesthood is more like swimming against the current.
Okay.
Where people are interested to say, I want to get married, I want to be free with relationships and so forth, sexual relationships, then you have to put in your mind to say, this is the way I want to go, and here I have to accept, I have to be limited in this and that. So the first challenge, like I said, is the aspect of coming to understand celibacy itself. So I'll not marry, but at the same time, I'll not be too free to associate with people, especially the females anyhow. Yes. I'll be reminded, say, here you are going beyond the limits and so forth. But generally, that's the first thing. The other thing is people have their own demands. Family has its own demands. They want to benefit. They took me to school, they want to benefit something from me. Yes. And so to balance up that reality, to say, where I am, we don't focus on money, we focus on other realities of life. You tend to be misunderstood. So I have to clarify things at that level also. It's another challenge. The other challenge that is there is sometimes you find that you might have a dream to say, I want to be serving maybe in prime parishes, yes, city parishes, urban parishes, but the bishop would decide as to where to send you, yeah, because he's the one who knows the needs of the church in a particular area and scenario. So yeah, that becomes a challenge. Say, you are going to this, maybe it's a rural place. To accept that, sometimes there's always crisis. Should I accept or I should not? But to overcome that, I made it a point to say, the bishop speaks what the Holy Spirit directs him to do. If I go too much into arguing on this and that unnecessarily, I might feel like I want to do my own mission instead of doing the mission of the church. Generally, those are some of the changes, but there are plenty, but those are some of the major changes that are there.
Okay, interesting. So Father, as you wake up each day, there have been moments of fulfillment and joy in your vocation. Kindly share with us your classic moments, like those moments, like the highlights in this journey of our priesthood.
Okay. There's a lot of happy moments that I have. Of course, with the background of seminary formation, we are taught to love prayer. Yeah. And all the time, when I've become used that in every program that I have to do, in every activity, when I wake up, I have to pray. And even when going to sleep, I pray. So each time I wake up, I always thank God how the night was, and how God has protected me in all this. And then beginning the day, I always begin with prayer. And whenever this is happening, I feel like there's a flame of fire, not the burning fire, but the kind of fire that softens everything in life. And so, that's what gives me the joy of the priesthood. It's really something so amazing. Another thing is just to understand that I belong to this priesthood family, priestly family. Each time I think about that, I just smile, say, how possible did I come to achieve this? Was it my own making? Then I discover it's not my own making. I just thank you, God, for making me be part of this kind of thing. But away from that, the whole reality of belonging to the Catholic Church, and I'm a minister in that particular broad family of the Catholic Church, it adds the kind of happiness that really, I keep smiling with that actually.
I can see from the way you're narrating the whole story, really it brings so much fulfillment and joy to you. Interesting.
Yes.
So, Father, people say you are such a humble person. Have you always been very humble? So, when I say people say you are such a humble person, examples I would give is people say you would go as far as drawing water for people, maybe fixing their doors. Has it always been like that? Is this the kind of person you have always been?
I should think so, because you're not the only one asking me this question, for others to get the story. But I remember the time I was at school, primary school, there are certain times when it could be difficult. Before I was even made a monitor at one time, somebody had vomited in the classroom. And everybody else was moving out of the classroom. No, we might start vomiting because of the vomit that is there. And I remember that time I went outside, I got some sand, pushed there, I got everything, took outside, and everybody came back to class. So, to understand humility, I take it, it's self-respect, but also respecting the other people. And when I understand humility in that way, I should say it has not started now. It started a long time ago, and I've taken it to be part of the virtues that have to be embraced, so to say. And that's it anyway.
Interesting. We thank God for you.
Yes.
Father, have you ever regretted leaving everything behind and decided to follow Christ?
The answer is no, with capital letters. I've never regretted. Of course, in our life, we have feelings, thoughts. Thoughts can come to influence something, say, why did you bring up this? Yes. There are more answers to those kinds of questions than the questions themselves. I am convinced and I'm determined, already through formation, and then by accepting to get where I am, I don't regret anything. Because say I regret, it's more like a personal response to the challenges that have come. But I always have no regret in this. Kind of acceptance and appreciation.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. Father, your words of encouragement to someone out there who is very doubtful of maybe joining priesthood. Maybe they think it's boring or something. I'm not sure, but like your words of encouragement, what would you tell someone out there who is doubtful?
Thank you very much, presenter. My first point on the encouragement that I would give to those people that would want to become priests or to join religious life is that the first thing is a person must have a personal choice. It becomes a problem if a person is being forced by maybe parents or maybe other people. That becomes a difficult thing because you might not be able to defend the vocation on the way because it will become the vocation of another person. Another thing is it doesn't matter which kind of family you come from. What is important is do you have the necessary requirements for you to go there? The first thing is academically a person must already be prepared on that one because our study requires a lot of concentration and you need to have all the necessary qualifications because we need to study much more greater things than we are doing at secondary school. Yeah. So a person must already be working hard to get to that. Another thing is the church is always there to support. So when a person has vocation, to say, put much care on where do I get the money, where do I get this and that, the church has put things in place to make sure that the people that are called are relieved from the pressures of economic factors. So what I can say is, when a person has this vocation, let it be presented to their parish priests, vocation promoters, even the bishop, and then share that story. And then they'll find that there'll be people that will always enlighten them and guide them on that particular reality.
Okay. Thank you so much, Father, for sparing time to come and share your vocation story with us.
You're most welcome. It's been my pleasure to be here at Lumen Studios. And thank you so much for the questions and clarifications that are there.
Thank you once more. Well, our dear viewers, this has been the story of Father Charles Phiri, I hope it has inspired you to respond positively to that vocation which God is calling you to. I have been your presenter, Macy. From me, Father Charles, and the entire studio crew, it's bye-bye and God bless.